This extremely compact multi-purpose ore processor can process not just ores, but any crushable item, whether that is flowers, cobblestone, vibranium, whatever it is, as long as it's crushable, it's processable. This means that it can even double down as an iron farm when you're not using it to break down raw resources. As we know, having an ore processor is also a great quality of life thing to have, as it provides a means of breaking down raw resources without the need of enchantments on your tools, while also providing additional bonus items like gunpowder and experience orbs that you would otherwise not be able to obtain via traditional methods. In this video, we will be diving into everything about this machine, like how the machine works, its features, how to set it up, as well as a build tutorial on how you can build this machine for yourself or paste it in via a schematic, with each section in the video being timestamped for ease of access. So without further ado, let's dive into the machine, starting with its main features. First, it is precision mechanism free, meaning there are no mechanical arms or speed controllers used in this machine. Secondly, it has an overflow prevention system, which stops the machine if the output storage becomes full, preventing lag and saving materials from being wasted or despawned. Third is the bulk processing, which allows for multiple stacks of items to be washed at the same time, making for a far more efficient method of washing items as compared to traditional setups. Fourth is its multi-purpose design, which allows for the machine to do more than just process ores, doubling down as an iron farm when fed cobblestone. Lastly is its design, made to be as compact as possible following a strict Link series design system, which is taken into account on every build I create, which requires every machine like this one to be no more than 3 blocks wide and 4 blocks tall, while simultaneously forcing the inputs for the machine to be inserted in the front and outputs to always be on the opposite end, allowing for ease of use when linking this machine to other builds under the Link series schematics tree, as well as other builds that aren't a part of the Link series project. For more information, there is a link in the top right hand corner of your screen, as well as in the video's description if you want to learn more about what this Link series system entails. Moving along, let's look at the inputs this machine is going to require to operate, which is 34 stress units times the RPM. With that out of the way, let's begin with the breakdown of the machine, starting with the input on the front, which takes in items through a packager and frog port from whatever source you've assigned to your network. Next, those items are directed into a hopper, which leads to a packager that unpacks the boxed items into a barrel, or you can insert the items directly into the barrel itself by hand. From there, the items are dropped into a pair of crushing wheels. Once the items are crushed, they fall onto a belt and are sent into another barrel via an andesite funnel. Once in this barrel, the items are shot out through the top and washed. While being washed, any items that can be converted into blocks or ingots are filtered into a brass funnel. Meanwhile, the items that cannot be compressed any further, such as blocks, leather, or dyes, are dropped into a smart chute and are transferred to a chest at the back of the machine. If the items can be compressed further, like nuggets or ingots, they are filtered through the brass funnel instead, putting them in a chest in the center of the machine. From here, they are dropped into a basin where they are compressed into either ingots or blocks. These compressed items are then sent back onto the belt and are returned to the washing station. If they can be compressed further, they're once again sent back into the funnel. If they are fully compressed, like in block form for example, they are transferred to the chest with the other processed items in the back. If you're using some Create add-on mods, you may have to adjust the filters so that the machine can recognize what to take in and what to not. Additionally, if you wish to have the machine only make ingots instead of compressing items into blocks, you will have to adjust the filters for that as well. I'll have additional information about this build, like what the funnel's default settings are, the threshold configurations, and relatively every detail about this build that the video may have not covered, in the same place where you can find the schematic download for this build, which will be linked in the video's description. With that said, whether you are or not building the machine by hand, there will be a setup guide at the end of this video if you wish to visually see how this machine is set up. Now that we've broken down the functions of this machine, as well as everything about it, it's time to dive into the build guide. First, we are going to complete the materials list, which I will leave in the top left hand corner of your screen till the tutorial is over. If you're on an older version of Create and don't have access to the Create post-production features, you can still follow along with this tutorial and just ignore the post-production items. First, measure out an area of 3 blocks wide, 5 blocks long, and 4 blocks tall, which is going to be the dimensions of the build that we are going to be creating. Once you have mapped out your area, we're going to go to the front left side of the radius that you have mapped out and place down a vertical gearbox like so. Next, we're going to place a shaft on the side of that vertical gearbox. Then we're going to place another shaft, a block in front of the shaft that we just placed down. Then we're going to connect these 2 shafts with a mechanical belt. Next, we're going to place a shaft right here and a shaft in front of that shaft. And then we're going to connect these 2 shafts with a mechanical belt as well. Now come to the left side of this belt and place down a gearbox. Next, take yourself a cogwheel and place it on the front of this gearbox. Now come to the side of this mechanical belt and place down an andesite funnel in the middle, facing the belt. In front of that andesite casing, place down another shaft in the middle of the belt. Now come over here in front of this 2 block long belt and place down a depot. A block next to this depot, we're going to place a threshold switch facing upwards, and then place a redstone link on the side of that threshold switch. Now in the middle here, we're going to place a block of your choice right here, which is going to stop the items from falling off the edge of the mechanical belt. Moving along, take yourself 2 chests and place it on top of this threshold switch. Then place an andesite funnel facing this chest above this depot. Next to this andesite funnel, we're going to place a smart chute above the mechanical belt. Next to that smart chute, we're going to place a barrel. Now go to the other side of the machine and place 2 basins next to this chest. Under this basin, we're going to place a brass funnel facing downwards. Next, take yourself 2 copycat panels and place them next to this brass chute. Now take yourself a vertical gearbox and place it on top of this vertical gearbox and a cogwheel above this cogwheel. Then take yourself your 2 crushing wheels and place them in front of the vertical gearbox and the cogwheel we just placed down. Lastly, for this layer in the middle of the machine, we're going to place an andesite funnel facing this barrel. Now a block above that andesite funnel, we're going to place a chest and then another chest connected to that chest. Off this chest, we're going to place 2 brass funnels facing the basin. And then on the other side of this chest, we're going to place a brass funnel facing the chest. Now take yourself a cogwheel and place it above this cogwheel. And then in front of that cogwheel, place down a encased fan. In front of that encased fan, place a brass funnel on top of the barrel, facing upwards. Now take yourself a barrel and place it above this crushing wheel. Now take yourself your packager and place it on the barrel, and a hopper connected to that packager. Off this barrel, we're going to place a brass funnel facing away from it into the crushing wheels. Moving along to the opposite end of the machine, we're going to place a packager on top of this chest and a stock link on this packager. On top of this packager, we're going to place a frog port, and on top of this hopper, we're going to place a frog port here. Now take yourself another cogwheel and place it above this cogwheel. Follow that up with a gearbox, then a vertical gearbox, then a regular gearbox. In front of this regular gearbox, take yourself 2 mechanical presses and place them above the 2 brass funnels. Now take yourself a threshold switch and place it above this chest. Get yourself a redstone link and place one on this vertical gearbox and another one on this threshold switch. Now take yourself 3 blocks of your choice and place one here in this open space and 2 more right here in this open space. Now take yourself a copycat panel and place it on this brass funnel right here. Now for the most complicated part of this build process, which is going to be applying the filters and numbers to the funnels and smart chute. So first, let's go to the front of the machine and set this funnel right here to only output up to 16 items at one time, though this can vary depending on what you're putting into the machine. Now come to the brass funnels that feed the basin and set these to only output 9. but make sure it's equal to 9. Now come to the other side of the machine and set this brass funnel right here to 16 as well. Now for the filter for the brass funnel. This is what the materials are going to look like for the overall vanilla create items. If you have any add-ons to add on to this materials list, you will have to add those in yourself. Once you have compiled the list, set these to allow. And then place it on this filter. Now take yourself another list filter and come around to the other side of the machine and set it to these items. Basically the same thing, except we are removing the ingots. And we're going to be setting this to deny. Once you have set that, place it on this brass funnel right here. For the last two list filters, we're going to be setting these to iron trapdoors and set them to deny. This is going to prevent the presses from accidentally making iron trapdoors. However, if you have any other blocks that the machine might be falsely making, then you can add those to these filters and it will prevent the presses from making those items. Now for the most complicated filter, which is going to be the attribute filter. For this one, you're going to need to select these attributes: C ingots, C create crushed raw materials, C nuggets, and C dust/redstone. If you're wondering how to get these tags, take yourself an item that holds one of these tag values and drag it in as a reference item. Then go down to where it says is tag C ingots, and that is how I got the tag C ingots, because iron ingots is tagged with the Minecraft tag C ingots. You may have to adjust this attribute filter in case you have create add-on mods that is not detected. Once you have compiled the list with these tags, set it to deny. Then apply this attribute filter to the brass chute here. Now take yourself a wrench, come to the top of the machine and set this redstone link to receive signals. Now take a block of your choice and assign all the frequencies in the machine to the exact same one. Now come to this threshold switch on the bottom here and set it to target 3,000 items. And set the bottom row to 2,999. Now come to the top of the machine and set this threshold switch to maintain 256 items. And the bottom row to 255. You can adjust these threshold switches to your liking, but this is an overall best approach that I found when testing the machine. After you have completed the manufacturing of the machine, take yourself some anthracite casings and apply to these two cogwheels to make the machine look a little bit better. Now then, let's begin with the setup guide. So far, you've either made the machine by hand or pasted it in via a schematic. Either way, the setup for this build will be the exact same. Let's begin with linking the machine to your network. If you're using an older version of Create and don't have access to the Create post-production features, just apply your item input to the front of the machine like so, and ignore the first part of this setup guide. Now then, first connect all of your frog ports to your chain conveyor system. You can name them anything you want. Next, link your stock link to your network and place it back down on its respective packager. Now this next thing is optional, but if you want to designate an item to be sent to the barrel, like cobblestone to turn this into an iron farm, when you're not using it to process items, you can place down a factory gauge/restocker and assign it to the item you want to process. If you wish to send over more than one item, you can just place a secondary factory gauge on the packager. You can set the packager to maintain whatever number of items you want. If you're utilizing a factory gauge/restocker, make sure to route the items to the overhead frog port, which will be whatever name you have assigned it. Make sure that the place where the items are being sent from contains a packager, stock link, and frog port setup, and is linked to the same network and chain conveyor as your existing build. Now that you've assigned your inputs to the machine and linked everything to your networks, it's time to set up the mechanical features. From this point on, this will apply to all versions of the Create mod. First, waterlog the brass funnel behind the copycat frame under the basin. Next, waterlog the brass funnel on the other side of the machine, facing upwards on top of the barrel behind the copycat frame. Lastly, you will need to apply rotational power input anywhere to the machine at any speed, ensuring that everything spins correctly. And just like that, you now have an extremely efficient yet super compact multi-purpose ore processor that can also function as an iron farm, bettering your automation capabilities. As always, if you have any issues with this build, please reach out to me on the Our Creation Discord. And also consider joining the Link Series project to gain early access as well as additional bonus builds like this one, both of which you can find more information about in the video's description.